Welcome back to Your Average Witch, where every Tuesday we talk about witch life, witch stories, and sometimes a little witchcraft. Your Average Witch is brought to you by Crepuscular Conjuration. This week I'm talking to Michael Herkes, the Glam Witch. Michael shared their daily practice, talked about the effect of witchcraft on their life, and discussed a big change they've recently made. Now let's get to the stories. So, hello Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Can you please introduce yourself and let everybody know who you are and what you do and where they can find you?
Sure, yeah. My name is Michael Herkes. I'm also known as the Glam Witch. I am an author of, oh my gosh, at this point, I think it's 8 books on witchcraft. And I've been practicing modern witchcraft for over 20 years at this point. You can find me online. I'm pretty much I'm more active on Instagram under the handle at the.glam.witch. As well as my website, www.theglamwitch.com. And that will kind of point to all of my actual official pages, of course, as well as have up-to-date information on different classes and other offerings, and you can book readings and all that good stuff.
Links will be in show notes, so be sure you check that out and go and follow Michael immediately. Can you tell us what it means when you call yourself a witch?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a loaded question, but I think at this point, what I've kind of nailed it down as is, to me, a witch is someone who is very much integrated with the forces of nature. Now, we hear that a lot. And we kind of hear that as, or think that that's kind of maybe just limited to the elements around us, the trees, the plants, the sky, the weather, and things like that. But it's also very much the cosmos and what the planets and the stars are doing, as well as our own internal landscape, our inner natures, our desires, our wants, our fears, our traumas, things like that. So to me, when I call myself a witch, I view myself as someone who is very intricately connected to all aspects of those various types of nature. And from having my hands in all of those various different pools can then create change in the world around me.
Would you say you have any family history with witchcraft, or what was, if you're okay going into it, what was your spiritual background growing up?
So my family was Catholic Christian, of course. I was kind of not interested in that. But I started practicing witchcraft at a very early age. So it was about, like 2001. So I was about 11 years old. So junior high. Of course, we had like Buffy, Charmed, The Craft, all of those things going on, practical magic. And a lot of the other friends at school were all kind of like interested in witchcraft and Wicca and like seeing those books and stuff at the library. And so I got very much into it and really loved the idea that there was, I liked the idea of nature, but I also liked the idea of goddess worship and female divinity, because I was always more connected to femininity than I was kind of the idea of masculinity and this masculine divine force. So I like that there was both, with more of an emphasis on the feminine. And even though it wasn't very much like what Hollywood, or what I call real, REEL, witchcraft, it was it just kind of made me feel empowered, and also coming to terms with my sexuality as a young queer individual. I just loved it, and I felt like there was a lot more peace there. Now, as far as like there are some stories, like my mom has mentioned to me before, that when I was a kid, like very young, like I don't know, like 1 or 2 or something like that. But in like the 4th of July, there was this field in my hometown where like the fireworks always got let off, and everyone wanted to be on this like one very big hill area. And I guess I threw a big temper tantrum, and they had to like leave with me, because it was just, I was not stopping. And as soon as they got off the hill, like there was a huge fire that broke out right where we were. And so my mom kind of always jokes like, you are always a witch, like you've always been thinking about, like, you are always there. And so But yeah, I mean, growing up too, I was always very much interested in like the witches and television and stories and the media. So all of the Disney movies, Wizard of Oz, all of that. I just loved like the evil queen or the witch archetype. I just felt like their storylines were so much more interesting, and I just wanted to be them. And so, of course, naturally, that kind of evolved into me taking a liking to modern witchcraft. But also, I have a Hungarian background from what I've been told, but I literally just bought finally like an ancestry DNA kit. So I'm interested
Yay!
to see kind of like what lineage I have, because I have been told that like from my grandmother's side on my father's side that we go back to kind of like I have gypsy heritage. So I'm interested to see if like knowing that I have a lot of Hungarian in me and that the Romani gypsies were like from that area at the same time too. I'm just curious to see if there is like truth to it, or if there was just, these were just our parents talking and telling us crap. So I'll report back with those findings when I have them.
Yay! That's exciting.
Yes.
Maybe we're cousins. I have cousins in, not cousins, but I can trace back to Prague, which is vaguely in that area.
Very lovely. I went to Prague. I've gone to Prague twice, and I was there for an amazing experience last year. I just want to share real quick. Like it was because I just saw the memories of it coming up on like Facebook and stuff.
Yay!
Because it was at the end of February. So I went to this like yoga spiritual retreat that was hosted by an actress that played on this little show for anyone watching that might remember it, called Xena. And so she was a villainous and very much dark goddess archetype, and I've always resonated with that character, whose name was Callisto. And so the actress and instructor, her name is Hudson Lake. And so I went to Prague. I was there for about, I want to say it was like a 5-day retreat or so, in a very desolate, isolated town, maybe like an hour north of it, in like the mountain area. And it was so peaceful, and I just found so much of myself from that moment. It was just lovely. Like it was so quiet up there too, and I learned that like silence has a sound, because I live in Chicago, and like big city
Oh,
environment, of course you're always used to hearing things, and so like silence it had a very unique, beautiful sound to it. And I just remember too, one morning we some of the other individuals that I had met there, we were doing this meditation, and she told us to kind of visualize white flowers of peace falling on us. And we did our meditations, and then we had like a free afternoon, so we went exploring, and we got to like explore some like abandoned houses, factories, and castles, and it was really, really cool. But then out of nowhere, while we were out there, all of this snow started coming down, but it was very angular, like huge chunks of snow. It was very beautiful. And we literally were like, wait, this is the white flowers of peace that we were all just kind of thinking about and manifesting. So it was a really cool experience. And yeah, so you mentioned Prague, and this is where my mind went.
that's awesome. Did you
Yeah.
get to eat delicious pastry in Europe?
So I did a little bit. I don't have that much of a sweet tooth. So one place I did stop in Prague was it was like a really good macaroon place, and had
Oh,
yummy macaroons. And while we're on the retreat, it was all it was vegan food made fresh every day. So no pastries really there, but it's very, very
nice.
good. Yeah.
Can you introduce us to your practice? Like any consistent things you do? If you do anything daily,
Sure.
can you show us your daily rituals or anything?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed over time a little bit. And I would say my very first book, The Glam Witch, it was a documentation of my practice up until that point. And Glam ended up being an acronym for what I called the Great Lilithian Arcane Mysteries. I've been a devotee of Lilith for a very long time. I mean, pretty much since I started practicing, I'd say I kind of dedicated myself to around 2004. So I wrote a book about my practice specifically with her, which is a very Venusian kind of practice. And so there's a lot of info on that in that book, if for anybody that like really wants like the very, very long story. But in my world, I focus a lot on astrology. Like I look at a lot of the cosmos and trying to see what the planets are doing. If not on a daily, because sometimes I get a little lazy and stuff like that, but at least on a weekly basis of like what's happening in the stars and how is that affecting us here, and what can that do for me. Um, and then a lot of mirror magic. So as a glamour witch, as the glam witch, so to speak, too, glamour magic is a huge part of my process. So dressing with intention, whether it's aligning it with an astrological theme or just the days. So it's Friday today, and we're chatting, and I'm in red with heart sunglasses because it's Venus's day, right? Um, and mirror magic is kind of the idea that I've taught before. Like, we look at the reflection like all day long. Like a lot of it's the very first thing that we do when we wake up in the morning after we go to the bathroom or grab a drink of water or something like that. But when we are looking in the mirror as magical minded people, if we start focusing on things that we don't like about ourselves, then we're amplifying that energy in the real world. So mirror magic to kind of help focus on what it is that I like and how I want to amplify my projection on a daily basis is very much in my practice as well. And recently, as of maybe like the last 2 months, I've developed a morning walk that I like to go on. I like to do it at minimum an hour walk out by Lake Michigan through some of the forest preserves that we have here, just to
That
connect with
sounds
nature.
cold.
It's well, we haven't had a cold winter in Chicago, thankfully. Like it's been mostly in like the mid 30s and 40s. So like we haven't had cold winters in Chicago for a very long time. I know, but like it's normally like people think it's like super frigid out here, and it's not. But it's lovely. I like to experience all of the different seasons and breathe in that fresh, cooler air and see the changing of it all as the months progress, and welcome the sun as it rises over Lake Michigan. So that's become a very like meditative, beautiful way to start my day, and then do a nice sun salutation to welcome the day as well. That's kind of been my morning practices as of late.
That sounds so nice.
It's nice. It's lovely. I enjoy it.
It didn't occur to me that you could see the sunrise over Lake Michigan. That sounds so
Yeah,
cool.
it literally comes up, and so I will kind of touch on too, like in like the last year or so, I've kind of started to work with Aphrodite more, and and kind of dedicating myself to her now. And so that's kind of a moment that I share with her every morning because she's connected to water and is considered the golden one. So seeing the golden rays of the sun come up over the water is just a very magical moment where I kind of check in and connect with her.
That sounds super nice.
It's lovely. It didn't happen today though because it's been raining all day and it won't stop until tomorrow morning. So I might not get to do it then either. But I'll take it. You know,
You need
I enjoy
rain,
it.
I guess.
We need rain.
It's
We
raining
need to
here
have
too, and I don't want it to.
right. It's like we have to have the cloudy days just as much as we have to have the sunny days. It's like that's another part of being a witch. It's like we can't always be when I mentioned like being tapped
Yep.
into our inner circles of nature too, it's like we're gonna have those bad days internally. We're gonna have the good ones too. So it's all about balance. And so today is one of those dark and gloomy days.
How has witchcraft changed your life?
Mm. You know, it's interesting that she mentioned that. So I'll tell a little bit of a story. So last week I actually had brunch with um, someone I really admired for a while. Her name was Madam X, and she's a drag queen here in Chicago, who I started seeing back maybe 13 years or so ago. She was performing at this restaurant called the Kit Kat Lounge and Supper Club here in Chicago. And we just, over the years, I started going on a weekly basis and connecting with her. And so I learned a lot from her about the ideas of performance and some style techniques and things like that over the years. And so she kind of retired and kind of gave up performing a couple of years ago, and we lost touch, but we're able to connect. And upon walking in, she was just kind of shocked. She's like, "Who is this? This isn't the Michael that I used to know. This isn't the little boy that I met 13 years ago who just kind of was quiet and wore like plaid and khakis. Like, no, you've really evolved and
I couldn't even
blossomed,
imagine that.
into this beautiful goddess." And she was like, I always saw this in you. I knew that it was there, but it took you time to get it. And she had brought up that, like, this is very much like the evolution of your style and your presence and how you carry yourself now and the confidence that you have and just the radiation, like I want to say radiation, but maybe that's not the right word, but the light that
Radiance.
you radiate. She's like, this is very much evidence of your witchcraft. This is what you do. You've changed your life. You've become creative. You didn't, your witchcraft has inspired creativity within you. And you are now walking in that, and you walk and people just look at you and are like, oh my God, who is that? And she's like, that is your witchcraft. So I would say that hearing that vocalized back to me last week, I'd say witchcraft has changed my life in that everything that she had just said there, that it really has it evolved me into an individual who holds myself accountable for my own empowerment and find ways to shine that out and reflect that out into the world to help other people do the same. So inspiring creativity, inspiring joy, inspiring art around me is how it has changed my life.
I love that.
Thank
So it
you.
helped you find
I do
yourself,
too.
it sounds like.
What'd you say? What was that?
Sounds like it helped you find yourself.
Yeah, very much. It was very much a tool for self-discovery, but also so much um empowerment. And I like that's kind of the word that's in my mind so much right now. It's just feeling so self-empowered. Like, I think too there was recent, I forget which award show it was, but Niecy Nash, the actress, had won an award, I think for best actress, best supporting actress or something like that. And I've always loved her, but her speech was so moving, and I literally could feel it vibrate through me because she was like, I want to thank myself because I was the one that have pushed me here. I'm the one that had to pick up the pieces for all of the negative things that have happened in my life. I'm the one that's been up late at night, doing XYZ. I'm the one that's been the driving force behind it all. And I truly, truly feel that. And so I'm very, very much thankful for me. Witchcraft has helped me find me, the magic of me, the magic inside of me. So
That makes me happy.
yeah.
Yay. What would you say is the biggest motivator in your practice, and has it changed since you first started out?
Oh, it definitely has changed. I mean, I can't remember exactly what like I think at the very beginning, like my first motivator for being a witch was to find a boyfriend and to hex bullies. Like those were my motivators, right?
They need
And
it.
that was
They
it.
need that.
I wanted a hot man and to kick some bullies' butts.
And vengeance.
But basically, yeah, vengeance, love and vengeance, right? That's how we are. When people come into witchcraft for one of the two ways. It's usually
Yep.
those two reasons. So, or money. So, I, now to me, the motivating factor is seeing the growth. It is seeing that the spells and the witch, like the change that I want to see happen in my life, having it actually happen, but then also seeing the evolution of who I've become, who I am becoming, and literally kind of in a way, um, being a viewer to my own personal past, present, and future all at the same time. That to me is my motivator. Like it's yes, it's very me focused, but again, it's about finding my own personal empowerment and things. And so it's not so much the spells anymore. It's not so much not even necessarily because I mean, at the same time, I'm an author, and I'm creating this brand that is the Glam Witch. It's not even, excuse me, so much that it's more of just this, how am I growing, how am I evolving, and how can I be a witness to it in this moment. That's my motivator.
What was it when you first started? Just the vengeance and love.
Yeah, vengeance and love, vengeance and love. And now
it's just fun to say that. I wanted to say
it
it
is. It's
again.
like, I mean, in the beginning, and then I mean, yeah, it's like you come in because you want to like bring back a lover,
I want
find
stuff.
a new lover, get
I
some
just want
quick
stuff.
cash. You want stuff, right? You want to like start manifesting all that stuff in your life, and if you stick with it, over time, that kind of goes away. I still want stuff, but I don't know. It's like, to me, it's like I've realized that I am the motivator, the composer to it, like the driver to all of the force. So if I can get behind me and finding the empowerment within, all of the other things will perfectly align. And not even
Awesome.
if it doesn't, I become a magnet for pulling and attracting more of that good stuff to me.
Hmm.
So
What would you say is your biggest struggle with witchcraft?
Mm. Patience. I'm a very impatient individual. So, I mean, as much as I try, sometimes I just can't get behind that patience.
I got an
Like,
Aries moon, so there's like next to
and so
none.
I'm an Aries sun, so that's never going to
I
happen.
was wondering if you had any.
Yeah, it's patience. No. Um, so yeah. So again, like if I'm doing a spell, it's like, ugh, can it just happen already? Or like, can I get a response to that email already? Like just anything. Like I want it now. And at
Everything.
the same time too, it's like I do kind of very much live in a very now focused time because tomorrow is not promised, and there's no point in driving forward constantly looking back in the rearview mirror. You'll crash. So I really try to focus so much on the now, and that's I think one of the reasons why that amplifies the kind of impatient aspect of me. So yes, I struggle with the patience aspect of witchcraft, but at the same time too, again, getting behind that motivation. So for example, I'll share too, starting to work with Aphrodite when I've spent the last 20 years solely devoted to one specific goddess. You kind of forget how you form a relationship with another spirit, another entity, another divinity. And so it was a little like crippling in the beginning for me because I was like, oh my God, can't I like be dedicated and like have all of the mysteries down pat now? No, but that's why like witchcraft is a mystery tradition. It's a mystery spiritual path. It's mystery based. And I remember being a baby witch and really not understanding what the hell that meant, but now I have evolved to understand that it's just part of the mystery is experience. And so you have to go through the experiences and then, also very much pay attention to the signs and synchronicities as they add up. So another, piggybacking off of like motivation to things, it's also the signs and synchronicities of things that are either working or not working. And tapping into that and experiencing that. So in some ways, some like once that kind of starts rolling, I can like ease up on the whole patient situation because it's like, oh, I see that it's working. And so you're seeing the results essentially. So
And recognizing that that's what it is. That's
yes.
something I need to work on. I do.
Yeah, because that it's those little things where I'm like, oh shit, you know what? The magic is working. Let me simmer down and sit down.
Would you say that you ever have to deal with imposter syndrome in yourself? And if you do,
Mm.
what do you do about it?
Yeah, very much so. I would say that the imposter syndrome very much comes in as an author. And I think it really hits hard on any type of creative individuals. So I'm sure that a lot of witches are creative. Like it's just part of us, right? It's, just tapping into your will and stuff. Just naturally we are creative beings. But you know, with me specifically, yes, I'm an author of various books and stuff, but at the same time too, it's the Glam Witch has become a brand. It wasn't kind of necessarily designed that way, but it has over time, and so sometimes, um, I think just like anybody else that's kind of in a creative field that releases a project or a piece of art or something like that into the world, we deal with the criticism. We deal with, there's every type of art, every book. It's not always for every person. There's going to be people that love it, and there's going to be people that don't like it, and there's people that are going to be very vocal about it. So the criticism that comes through, as well as seeing the other individuals and kind of gauging yourself and your success based off of other people. I've gotten so much better at that. And it really, there is that kind of quote, not to judge yourself based on somebody else or something like that, that there's always people that are greater and lesser than us. So try not to kind of, you know, measure yourself according to other people's successes and stuff. But I mean, that's kind of where it comes in, and or it has in the past, and it will, but it comes in waves. And so the best way that I've been able to overcome it is just to kind of ride the wave, ride that emotion, feel that moment of anger or jealousy or envy or sadness or what the fuck, any of those emotions. Literally just ride the wave, and and then it will calm down and you'll feel empowered again. I lean into new creative urges and trying to figure out ways that, like, okay, let's do it better. It's like I look back at some of my earlier books, and one of the criticisms were that the spells and the rituals I do had too many ingredients in it. And I'm like, well, that's just how I do it. And so that I've written some other books that, only called for one ingredient and people loved that one. So it's, I don't know, the imposter syndrome can come in waves and stuff. And I try not to let it bother me anymore. And I try not to allow what other people are wanting to influence my art and creative force anymore. Even in me being a witch. So I don't know. I've that negative voice is always going to be there, but again, it comes in waves. You just got to ride it out and power on and be authentically you. That's the best I can say. In
Sounds
terms
good
of
to me. What brings you the most joy in your practice?
I would say that the most joy comes from just the beauty of it, paying attention to the beauty of the witchcraft. So I'm married, of course, being a glamour witch is very aesthetic based. So if I'm doing a ritual, tapping into and seeing the beauty of the altar or something that I put together, the beauty of the soft glow of the candlelight, and then just, again, paying attention to the nature around me and the beauty of the world, that gives me the most joy. And knowing that I'm a part of it and knowing that I'm a conductor of it in the symphony of the magic that is my life. That is what brings me to this joy.
That sounds so good. What a good phrase.
Thank you. It just came through me. So it's part of that beauty.
Beautiful. What is something you did early on in your practice that you don't do anymore, and why don't you?
I don't cast circle anymore, or rarely. I will if I'm in like a public setting or if I'm with other people, but I'm in solitary individual. So the main reason is that I just feel like my home and the space that I'm in, it's so much connected to the magic of me already that I don't need to create another layer of protection. I think that there are reasons for it, and I think that it's a lovely tool for individuals, especially baby witches, to kind of start with, because it really helps focus your intention to be able to get to that state of mind where you can start to manifest and you can really start to kind of do the magic work. But having done it for so long, it doesn't feel necessary anymore. And the same can be said for like elaborate spells and rituals. That's something that I don't do too often and that much anymore. And it's kind of something I've shared with other practitioners that I'm friends with that have practiced a long time. It's just kind of this thing now where, like, if I have a need for something and I think about it and I kind of, put it in focus, it just kind of comes into fruition. And I think that that's just a part of growing and evolving in your personal craft. You use the tools in the beginning, you use the ritual formats in the beginning. It's all the training wheels to get to where you need to be. And then once you're finally there and you've tapped into the magic of your mind and the magic of you then can start manifesting anything.
Speaking of tools, what a lovely segue you set me up with.
Imagine that.
What is your favorite tool? It doesn't have to be like a physical object. It can be like an idea or a song or whatever. What is your favorite tool and how do you use it?
So my favorite tool is, my favorite traditional tool is my athame. It's one I've had since I was a teenager, and it's the same one. It's a brass mermaid handle, and it's a dagger, and it's a very it's to me it's very sexy and like voluptuous, but at the same time very pointy and sharp. And I love how it looks. It's very beautiful. And it's the same design of the one that Fiona Horn has, who's my magical mentor. So there's a lot of meaning behind it to me. And the fact that I was able to find one online, that it just kind of all like happened. So I use the Athame for directing energy, of course. I mean, if I'm going to do a casting of a circle, I'll use it to cast a circle. If I'm going to kind of charge an object or something, I will use that as well. I know that forever I grew up with the whole idea that like your Athame isn't supposed to use to cut anything physical, but now I use it to cut physical things in a ritual format. So if I have to carve something into a candle, I'll use it. If I have to cut an apple for an offering to Aphrodite, I'll use it. So that's my favorite and most like beloved witch tool. But other than that, I would just say my clothing that I wear that helps tap me into the witchy vibes that I want to conjure that day.
Do you have a favorite outfit?
That's a real tough one. I maybe not favorite. I'm really loving my current one that I'm wearing a lot, but I wouldn't say necessarily favorite outfit, but favorite type of outfit. I've kind of like my signature look has evolved into the caftan. I love the caftan. It's very magical to me. Even if we look back at like some images and stuff of like famous witches and stuff from the past, like Endora from Bewitched, always in a caftan, you know? So caftans and very flowy robes, they feel very magical when the air touches them and stuff. They tend to float, create this illusions of floating. And I've fallen in love with them. They're simple yet elegant and timeless, and that's why I like them.
Can you pick out one decision that you've made that completely changed the course of your life?
Yes, I actually need to say two. Um, the first one is like the overall big one, and it's really really big. So when I was 25, I started dating someone who was 25 years older than me, and we were together for about 2.5 years, and it was a really horrific relationship. A lot of gaslighting, a lot of just very toxic and abusive emotionally for me. And but I stayed in it, and also in those 2.5 years, I pretty much gave up my witchcraft. I wasn't focused on it. I kind of, to use my little analogy of real REEL witchcraft. It was that time where I was that witch that wanted to lead a normal life, and I wanted to have the the older husband in the suburbs with the white picket fence and all that garbage. Or I'll say that now. It's garbage to me. But I really drowned. I kind of like allowed myself to, it's the right word, like have my spark be blown out basically from this relationship. And so while I was in it, towards the end, I still had like I had two statues of Lilith in my house, in my apartment. And I had like a floating shelf that one of them was on. And I came home one day after a weekend with him, and the statue was like all the way on the other, like, I don't know, good like 5 feet out on the ground, shattered. And the shelf was still intact. There's no way that like a cat or anything could have gotten up there. And it really looked like it had literally like flown off the edge. It didn't just fall. It was very odd and unique. But I was like, okay, well, anyways, let's move on with life. Like, let me clean up the dust and keep the one centered fragment that I have of it and put that on back on the shelf. But then 3 weeks later, my other statue, I wake up and she's shattered on the ground. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, now something's telling me something's up here. And I really had to look in. Then I started to look and examine, and I'm like, I'm literally in this very Lilith Adam relationship. And for anybody that's listening that doesn't know what I'm talking about with that, so Lilith, in a lot of her mythologies, was considered to be Adam's first wife who left him. He wanted her to be submissive to her, to lay below him, so to speak. And she left. She flew to the beaches and the caves by the Red Sea, and started to live a life of fornication and all of that. Some say she was the one that was the serpent that went back and gave us knowledge through Eve and the fruit and all of that stuff. But anyways, I started to really kind of realize I am literally in my own Adam relationship, and I am allowing myself to be submissive to this horrific person that's putting me through so much like emotional strain, just so much negative stuff. And so it was in that moment that I literally could like just felt like I was possessed. I went to his house and broke up with him, and it was raining, it was cold, I had no coat, it was literally like hailing outside, and I just still have this vision of myself walking down the street like in slow motion, being drenched, but knowing like I have to do this and I have to do it now. And so, yes, leaving that relationship was one of the biggest parts of my witchcraft, because it was
I got
from
chills.
that things.
You just
Yeah,
gave me chills.
it's flipping supernatural, like the way that I look about it and think about it. And I briefly touch on it a little bit in the first book, The Glam Witch, to kind of illustrate just kind of like, again, the signs and synchronicities of things, the falling of the statues, those types of things. And it was immediately after that happened that just empowerment came swishing back into my life. And 2 years later, I found myself at a festival, and like immediately, like a witchcraft festival, and then getting a job working at a magazine from there, and starting to write, and then starting to do my books. And like everything took off because I was able to do that and make that sacrifice and learn that like no relationship is worth it. No relationship is worth being put down on a regular basis, being cheated on regularly, all of the various different things. And so I'm very happy to not be in that relationship anymore. But anyways, that was my major one. But there's another one that's like very recent that I haven't shared, and I think that this would be a fun one to do. But I stopped drinking alcohol as of the first of the year. And so
Congratulations.
thank you. I was a very heavy drinker for a while. There were some heavy, like there's some health concerns, and I was gaining massive amounts of weight too. So as part of like a weight loss journey for myself, just to get healthier, I gave that up. And so I thought it would only be for like a month or something like that, but it's stuck, and I really want to keep it up at this point because I'm feeling so much better. I feel like I look a lot better, and my skin is better. Like there's just so many different like I'm saving money. Like there's so many different levels of like how I'm winning from this. And I still go out. I still frequently go out. I have to see my friends and mingle and stuff like that. But you know what? I have a Diet Coke or a soda water, or there's so many now like new alcohol-free spirits that are out. So, and from a magical perspective, I feel so much more in tune with nature and everything around me than being in the fogginess of a hangover or things like that. And so I don't want to sit here and preach and do all of that, but I did want to share that like it has been very changing to me in my practice. And so I'm excited to see how it will evolve from here.
Well, welcome. That's great to not. I am very happy not drinking anymore.
Right?
And you do look great.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel great. And that's, I mean, just literally the difference in how I feel and the energy that I have is just insane. So
it's not called a depressant for nothing.
Ain't that the truth?
How do you pull yourself out of a magical slump?
You know, I think I kind of touched on it earlier, but it's just this idea that I have of riding that wave. Like understanding that it's not going to stay here forever. Allow myself to feel whatever feeling it is that I'm going through from a magical slump, and then like moving forward. I actually wrote about this, ironically, in one of my books, and then came to find out that once it was published, they took it out. And I was like, oh, damn. Because I was like at a signing and I was literally talking about it. And people were like, where is it in the book? And I was like, well, let's see. And I was like, oh, well, they edited it out. But it's this idea that, again, thinking of going back to this idea that like, you know, witches were tapped into nature, right? The seasons. We internally have internal seasons too. And that is very much connected to our moods, how we feel, our magic as well. Like I've learned that I feel most magical and tapped into my magic like between the months of like March through the beginning of June, and then again like September through November. And it's interesting because if we look at it, like Beltane and Samhain are there, and they're like, depending on where you are in the world, they're the opposites. So those are those cross quarters like half marks of the year, that's when it's my internal season of feeling most magical and working the most magic that I do. And then, more of like the winter and the summer months, I'm not really doing it. So the begin like spring equinox, yeah, like spring and fall is where I'm like at with my magic. And the other seasons I'm just kind of not. And I've just learned to just go with the ebb and flow of it. Lean into my own personal wheel of the year, and know that it's not going to last forever. Like, just like night, dawn will come eventually. Like, I just try not to like put too much pressure on myself to, oh my God, I have to get out of this. Like, I'm just like, you know what, it's here. We're just going to make the most of it.
Be in the now, like you said at the beginning.
Yeah. Which is so not Aries of me either, because we have no chill normally, but I have my moments of no chill. But I don't know. I've just learned to calm the fuck down. Like, it's like, I don't know, Aries, we're like little Labrador puppies, like so much full of energy. But as we get older, we're just kind of like, oh my God, I don't have time to run in circles anymore.
What is something you wish was discussed more in the witch community?
Oh, glamour magic. I wish that there was like more of an appreciation for my niche. Because we have like probably 2,000 books on green witchcraft at this point, and like how to be a psychic witch. Like, I want more glamour. Okay, I want more like self-lovey stuff, and not just that, but I would love to see a renaissance of like love magic, because I remember like the 90s and the early 2000s, love spells were where it was at. There were so many love spell books, and that was like the real marker. And I get that, like, I know from like a psychological place, people are starting to kind of veer away from like the need for relationships and things. But like, there is so much more to love magic than just relationships. Like, there's self-love, there's that self-empowerment that comes from it. So I would love to see that discussed more in the witchcraft, and not have it be so tarot focused and so like plants and crystals focused. Like, it's fun. I love all of those things too, but like, it's oversaturated. We've done it. We get it. Like, how can we do magic a different way? That's what I would say. And not knocking anyone who does those. Like, I don't want it to come across like I'm knocking anyone that does those or anyone that's written about those. It's like, I get it. I love it too. And there's enough room for all of us and the various things that we like and we don't like. But yeah, there's, I think, like 3 books on glamour witchcraft. Like, I wrote one, Deborah Costolino had written one, and Sophie St. Thomas has written one. Like, where it at? Can we get some more glamour, please?
I do feel like there's a lot of focus on stuff right now.
That's another thing too. And it's like, I get the stuff thing from one perspective of like, from a glamorous perspective, right? Like, for me, but I mean, what I teach with glamour is too, it's like, you have to figure out what works for you. It's figuring out your own personal style that, like, again, works for you and your magic. And so I like a lot of stuff. I like a more campier, maximalist kind of style in all of my life. So but at the same time too, is like, literally this week I was like, do I really need all of this shit? Like, yeah, I don't know. And even from like the witchcraft perspective too, and to kind of, this piggybacks off of your question earlier, like stuff that's a little bit different from like my past. Like, I used to have all of the supplies. My aunt actually even joked at a holiday recently. It's like, do you remember when like Michael was 12 and for Christmas he was asking for a cauldron and a knife? Like, we should have maybe been worried, but we got him it. And I was like, yeah. I'm like, I had to have the cauldron, the knife, the athame, the wand, the tarot, the crystals, the everything.
Like,
it was like the chalice. Oh my God, yeah. And I needed to have like 5 different statues, and I like all of the candles. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't have all of that anymore. I have beautiful shrines to my goddesses, and I do have the supplies that I need, or I'll make it work with what I do. But as much of a maximalist as I am, I'm trying to find ways to minimalize my practice and the things that I need. Because again, I mean, it's kind of like that old age saying. It's like, if you don't have any tools around you and you're just like in a cornfield, how are you going to do your magic? And we can't be reliant on tools. They are literally
The
just tools.
cornfield.
Yeah, they're instruments. Well, because around Chicago in the suburbs, there's lots of corn here, so it's I go to the cornfields in my mind. But yeah, it's like at the end of the day, you can't be super reliant on a tool. It's just there to be a conductor of energy, and we are the driver of the energy. So at the end of the day, it comes down to us. So
And I sell stuff. I mean, I have a jewelry and altar tools in my shop, but I still don't want
yeah,
a bunch of stuff. I just don't want it. I don't want stuff. Like, don't send me stuff.
yeah, I
Send
get
me a
it.
gift certificate to a massage, yes, but not an
Well, that's what
object.
I'm too. Yeah, I want more of the experience things. Like, give
Yeah.
me a massage or a nice dinner or something.
Yeah, I was going to say a fancy meal.
Yeah.
Okay. Think of the 3 biggest influences on your practice, not necessarily people. It can be a book or a philosophy, whatever. Thank them for the effect they've had on your practice.
Oh, okay. Well, the very first one would be Fiona Horn, who is my magical mentor and high priestess. So she's another author. If someone's not too familiar with her, she has like 15 books, like, and was very much kind of the poster child of witchcraft in the early 2000s, along with like Silver Ravenwolf. So, but I just loved Fiona. She had like such glamorous, like aesthetic, and I got sucked into witchcraft through her teachings. Like, it wasn't her until I saw her books that everything kind of clicked. So there would be no Glam Witch if there was no Fiona Horn. She's passed the torch on to me, so thank you for that, my little witch mama. And and then I would say the Lilith, as the goddess, has been the other biggest influence, because she's led me to everything that has happened in my life so far. I mean, it was her that led me to Fiona, so to speak. And I write about that ad nauseum in the first book. So I won't. I know we got time limits here, but Lilith really has led the way for me in a lot of ways, and so thank you for always being a guiding light in that regard. And then I'll for the third, I'll say Aphrodite Venus, because my astrological chart is exceptionally dominated with Venus placements and aspects. So I'm a very Venus oriented individual. And Venus is the goddess of glamour, and that's what I practice. I practice glamour. So thank you for enhancing um, the magic that I conjure.
Do you have advice for new witches?
Oh my gosh, I have lots of advice. I mean, the very first advice would be to try not to compare yourself too hard to others. Because there's always going to be people that are more advanced than you. There's going to be people that are less advanced than you. So try to stop looking outward and don't look outward for approval either. Focus inward. Focus on this journey that you have within for yourself. Um, that might change a little bit if you kind of go into like an initiatory kind of practice. I don't have familiarity with that because I'm a solitary, but I would say that if you are another solitary, really kind of focus on you. What makes you happy? Why do you want to practice witchcraft? What are the tools and the objects and the things that make you happy, that you feel drawn to? Try to tap in more to your intuition and believe it. Don't second guess your intuition. I know it's hard because we kind of get drilled out of it from society. It's just like with killing our imagination and creativity and stuff like that. But I would just say that. And I also say read a lot. Read everything you can. And do. It doesn't matter how much knowledge you have if you're not actually doing anything with it. You have to go out and do some stuff. Again, like, it doesn't matter how many love spells you're doing, but if you're not on any apps and you're not networking out there, if you're sitting at home on Netflix every single night, how are you going to meet somebody? Like, it's just not going to happen. You have to do the work too. Same if you're trying to get a new job, or if you're trying, to get more money, play the lottery, apply to jobs, actively do the work. that you're seeking on top of doing the spells, and the manifestation will naturally happen.
Now that you've seen the questions, who do you
Mhm.
think would be fun to have on the show and answer these questions?
Okay, so you're gonna need. I would like, of course, Fiona is who I'd definitely recommend. Fiona's always got really amazing things to talk about and say, and she's got all of these amazing retreats coming up that are magical in Egypt and Bali. So she's got a lot of cool stuff. Really interesting, fascinating individual to chat with. I'd also recommend my best friend, and I call him my big sister, but Chris Allen. He's got a lot of different books out there, a lot on more shamanic practices and the underworld and things like that. So I think he might be a really good fit for the show as well.
Yay, thank you.
Of course.
Is there anything else you wanted to bring up? Any questions I didn't ask that you wanted to talk about, or any questions that you had for me?
No, not at all. I will like to pitch a little bit of some of my work though. Like
Yay,
I
yes!
so um I have a new book coming out with Llewellyn. It's available for pre-order now, and it's called Glam Astrology. And I'm really proud of this book. Like I think all of us authors, it's like, oh, what's your favorite book you've ever written? And it's the newest one that we've done. But this one's really cool. It's the longest one I've ever written. It came in at like 94,000 words, which is a lot. And it'll be a 360-page book. But it's about how to use your astrological chart to create a signature style from a magical perspective. So
Ooh,
it fuses the arts of astrology and glamour magic into one scenario, into one practice. And so there's various different ways that you would do that. One is to just kind of tap into, again, the magic of you by developing your own signature style. But also you can then utilize, if you're familiar with other people's astrological signs, you wanted to either kind of gain favoritism from them or kind of like rough like mitigate conflict with them, you can kind of see what styles are work best for them so that you can glamour yourself in that style to kind of appease them. So for example, like I've talked about this philosophy as I was running it to a friend of mine in New Orleans who was having a really difficult time with their boss, who is a Scorpio, and she was an Aries. And so I was like, well, here's some of the different tips and techniques that I would say, like start dressing in more of a Scorpio way. And here are like some of the different types of clothing and colors and things like that to use. And then sure enough, a week later, she's like, oh my God, it's like the light switch changed at work. Like she's like treating me nicer. It's not like there's no issue. And I'm like, see, so there's a lot of different ways to kind of go about this book, but the system of glam astrology, it's not just using your sun sign, because like if you've ever done tarot, you know one tarot card means one thing, but depending upon the other cards in the spread, it could kind of change the outcome of it. So the same thing is said here. There's why so many people are like, oh, and somebody else just recently got to kind of like peer review the book and had mentioned like, I never have liked these types of books or essays or blogs because I never really connect well with the Capricorn's style choices, but the way you broke things down were so much more fascinating. So real quick, like it uses your sun sign because that's our personality. So that's one component, but it also is going to utilize your Venus sign because that's your appreciation to beauty and aesthetics. Then it also is going to connect to your Neptune because Neptune is the planet of illusions. And that is going to really kind of focus a lot on like hair and glamming it up with lots of makeup and things like that. Then it's also going to connect with your rising sign, which is how you feel comfortable in your style, as well as your midheaven or your 10th house placement, which is how you're publicly perceived. So that's like your natural glamour that you're already kind of giving out there. And then a lesser component is your second house ruler, which kind of rules over values and shopping. So kind of can dictate like how you prefer to shop. So putting that all together, and the formula that I prescribe in the book will allow you to then kind of put together your perfect outfits, and create a unique style that is all your own, that lets you vibe better in the world around you. So I'm super excited for this book. It will be coming out in October, but again, it's available now for pre-order. Pre-orders are very, very important for us authors because it signals to the publisher like how many books they need and like if we're doing a good job and all that good stuff. So it's my first book with Llewellyn. I'd love to work more with them. Please pre-order this book. I also offer a variety of different services through my website as well too. So I do tarot readings. I also do magical makeovers where I will kind of go through your astrological chart with you and kind of figure out how we can kind of style, like rev up your style in a way, excuse me, to get what you want in life. So those are, and then I also do just a general astrological readings as well. So all of that is available for more information on my website, www.theglamwitch.com. If you see you wanted to schedule an appointment with me, go ahead and just contact me through the contact form on the book, on the website page. You can tell I'm tired. And shoot me an email, and then I'll discuss with you what times could kind of work best, and we'll go from there.
That sounds so cool.
Thank you.
So if you wanted to, say, gift someone that, they could just email you and say, hey, can I do a gift card or a gift certificate? Or
Yeah, I've done gift certificates for people in the past. So yeah, if someone wanted to do that, just email me and we'll figure something out. Normally I'll just have like like a graphic that is a gift card that I can send over to you. And once you have it paid, they can contact me, get it scheduled up, and we'll go from there.
that sounds so neat.
Yeah.
So the last two things I ask of my guests. Thing number one is, please recommend something to the listeners. It does not have to be witchy or occult or metaphysical or whatever. Whatever you were into this week, please recommend it.
Oh my God, what am I into this week? That's a great question that I don't know. What am I into this week? I'm into, my recommendation for this week is something I like to do every now and then, but go on a date with yourself. Just take yourself out on a date, give yourself a nice dinner, maybe go see a movie by yourself, and enjoy your own company.
That is wild because my group is reading The Artist's Way. And one of the things we have to do every week is go on a date with yourself / your artist.
I love it.
It's weird how much self dates have come up in the past 2 weeks. It's
Hey,
very
someone
weird.
must have spiked the incense because it's out there in the collective conscious or whatever it is called.
That's
But no,
wild.
I love it. I love doing it, and I think I try to go out like once a week and kind of enjoy my time and give myself a dinner or something like that, or buy yourself flowers, or just do something nice
Yeah.
for yourself. Yeah.
The second thing is, please tell me a story.
A story.
It can be from your life, it can be from your childhood, from last month, or it can be just a story that you heard as a kid that you really like and it stuck with you.
Like a made up story or a
Whatever.
personal story?
Either one, whatever comes out of your mouth.
Oh my God. I have a story in mind, but I don't remember how it goes. But what story will I say? Okay, so I have a Bengal cat. His name is Fuji. He just turned 13, and
Oh, wow.
I got him after a really rough breakup. Not that one I mentioned earlier, but it was before that. And he was an impulse purchase and somehow became my best friend. So I needed that love in my life. But before I also used to have snakes, and I had one familiar for about 16 years. He's a ball python. And I've always had snakes in my life ever since I was a young child. And this one just I felt called to him at the reptile house and got him. And he told me his name just popped into my head when I was holding him, that his name was Otis. And so I had him for a while, and he passed away the year before last. So December 2022, he passed away. Which was sad. And then I also had a Dumeral boa, which is a beautiful, beautiful snake. She's about 6 feet long, from Madagascar. I had her for about like 14 years as well, and a rosy boa that I had maybe for like 6. And she's actually on the cover of the Glam Witch. But those two I had to adopt out to somebody that was interested in them because I was moving and I couldn't not have snakes in the building. So
I think it's always so weird when they don't let reptiles. That's so strange to
it's
me. Like,
always
that's one of the
an
least offensive
irresponsible
things that you could
owner.
have.
Yeah, but so I ended up hearing, and it's like, it's just an eye roll because it's never the snake's fault, right? But it's the irresponsible owner. But someone didn't lock their cage, and like their 10-foot python got out, and it went into a neighbor's house, and she like locked herself in her bedroom for 3 days, and like was like starving, and it just turned into a big thing. So that's why snakes weren't allowed here. But it was a great apartment,
That's
and
crazy.
it was just I just felt like I couldn't give these snakes what they wanted anymore. And the Dumeral boa, her name was Eve. I did see like the guy was interested in her because he had a male and he was interested in breeding. And I was like, well, let this girl go breed. She never had nothing for 14 years. And sure enough, I just looked on like their Instagram site and it looked like she just like mated and is like about to have babies and stuff. So I am
Wow.
a glam ma in the world in some capacity. So it's cool. I know that they're in a much better place than where they were. So
That's sweet. Congratulations.
they're sanctuaries.
Well, thank you for being on the show and for telling me stories.
Of course. Thanks for having me. It was fun. I loved all of your questions. Like
Oh, yay.
so impressive.
So everybody go follow the Glam Witch immediately. Pre-order that book. And I will see you on Instagram. Okay, bye. So, Michael.
Yes.
Welcome to Hive House.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Here. Ah! You're welcome, everyone, for my microphone making bong sounds.
Oops.
Okay, first. What is that? Is that Fresca?
It sure is. And I'm being really ridiculous right now by drinking it like just the full 2-liter. But it's just me.
Fine. Okay, say when.
Here. Say when.
What's the funniest thing you ever got caught doing? Or didn't get caught? Either way. The thing you shouldn't have been doing, but you either got caught or didn't get caught.
The funniest thing. Okay, let's see. The funniest thing I got caught doing. Or I didn't get caught doing. I don't know why. I mean, this goes back way, way, way long. I probably shouldn't even be sharing it, but I'm going to do it anyway. But like,
to hear more of the members only episode, head over to crepuscularconjuration.com. The monthly magic tier will give you access to the monthly magic Marco Polo group, the private Facebook group, and access to the written monthly spells. There's also Crepuscular Conjurations, giving you bonus podcast episodes, coloring pages, guided meditations, spell crafting videos, printable downloads, and a lot more. The free Witchy Wonderment level will give you a little sample of everything I just mentioned. You can also visit my shop, Clever Kim's Curios, to get spell boxes one at a time or by monthly subscription, intentional handcrafted jewelry that I make especially for witches, and handmade altar tools. You can even listen to the full Your Average Witch podcast library, including show notes and transcripts. Check it out at crepuscularconjuration.com. Thanks for listening to this episode of Your Average Witch. You can find us all around the internet on Instagram at Your Average Witch Podcast, facebook.com/groups/hivehouse, at www.youraveragewitch.com, and at your favorite podcast service. If you'd like to recommend someone for the podcast, like to be on it yourself, or if you'd like to advertise on the podcast, send an email to youraveragewitchpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next Tuesday.